at age 40. A small mass that I couldn't feel appeared on the imaging, and the breast center in Williamsport likes to biopsy everything just to make sure. And she told me that they are always booked solid for several weeks. She said it could take a month or more to come back, and then it takes a month to get your results. And that's what happened. I came back about 3 weeks later, had the biopsy, and they placed a little marker so that they could watch to see if it changed. And a week later, I found out that it was a benign fibroadenoma. And because of this, she told me that she would like to see me every 6 months for imaging. So that became my normal. For the next 7 years, I went every 6 months and had some form of imaging done. There was one other time that a small mass appeared, and it was another benign fibroadenoma. Finally, in February of 2017, the nurse said, you've been really stable. She said, we've been watching these 2 masses for 7 years and they have not changed. And there's, everything is clear. She said, we're going to graduate you to yearly imaging. So I did a happy dance out to my car because, as you all know, it's very stressful to have imaging done. But I never truly got to graduate because in less than 7 months later, on September 30th of 2017, I discovered a lump. And I swear to this day that that thing appeared overnight. It made its presence very loud and boldly known. There was no denying that it was there. It was a Friday after hours, so I spent a very long weekend worrying about it, and I called first thing Monday morning. And the center brought me in that Thursday to do imaging. And while she was doing, the mammogram took the normal time, but for the ultrasound, the technician spent a very, very long time taking lots and lots of imaging. And that scared me. I knew something was wrong, but I rationalized it away by saying, she's just getting good pictures so they can tell me nothing's wrong. And, at the center in Williamsport, they make you wait for the results, so I was used to waiting 15 to 20 minutes for my results. So I went to the room and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. An hour and 15 minutes later, the door finally opened, and my very quiet, calm, slow-moving nurse literally came running into the room. She was out of breath, and her eyes were wide open, and she was talking fast. My brain could not comprehend what she was telling me. I had to ask her to slow down. And she said that she and the doctor had spent that entire hour and 15 minutes looking at my imaging. And she said, we don't like what we see. And she said, we're going to biopsy it. They're getting the room ready now. And I said, well, you never biopsy right now. I said, there's always a long waiting list. You're always booked solid. And she said, we are booked. She said, but I sent word out to the waiting room to tell the person who is scheduled right now for a biopsy that they would have to wait because there is an emergency biopsy that we need to do. I got kind of nauseous when I realized that I was the emergency biopsy. And she told me she'd be right back, and she left again. And I texted my husband, I said, something's wrong. I said, they want to do it right now. And he even said, but they never do it right now. So I waited about another 15 minutes, and the nurse came literally running back in. I have no idea how far this woman ran, but she was running up and down the hallways. And she told me that she consulted with the surgeon again, and they decided that they didn't want to wait, that a biopsy would take too long. And she said, we're going to remove the whole lump on Tuesday. She said, we always do our surgeries every Tuesday. And she said, we're booked out for many, many months, but she said, I told scheduling to do whatever it takes to get you on that schedule for Tuesday. And I said, well, that's like 3 days. And I said, I'm a caregiver. I don't think I can get time off. And she said, you're not understanding and listening to me. She said, you need to do whatever it takes to be in the operating room on Tuesday. And I said, well, I guess I can get a day off. And she's like, you're still not understanding. She's like, Traci, I need for you to listen to me. And like my brain just couldn't understand what she was telling me. And she said, you are going to need at least a week or 2 off. You're not going to be allowed to lift anything. So I said, okay. The night before my surgery, I stayed up all night. I was too scared and worried to sleep. And like husband was asleep, and so my house was very quiet. And I heard God say, I am going to allow you to walk the road of breast cancer because somebody will come to know me through your journey. And I thought, girl, you're so scared that you're hearing things. And I heard it a second time, and I knew what I was hearing, and I knew that that's what God was telling me. But the problem was I didn't want to walk the road of breast cancer. So I spent probably another hour or so giving God a long list of every reason I could think of that I should not walk the road of breast cancer. And he reminded me of one reason why I should. He said it a third time. I'm going to allow you to walk the road of breast cancer because somebody will come to know me to know me through your journey. But then he added, you don't have to be afraid. He's like, I'll be with you every step of the way. You just need to trust me. And my fear was instantly taken away, and I was filled with peace. So I spent the rest of the night praying, and but this time, instead of begging God not to let it be cancer, I was praying for the strength and the courage to walk the road that I found my feet upon. And by the time my husband took me for surgery the next morning, I was completely at peace. And but I didn't tell him about my newfound news because I knew he would tell me that I was just scared. So then I had the surgery, and the surgeon came in, and she told me that it takes about a week to get the results, but she was going to fast track it because she wanted to get me started on treatments. So 3 days later, I got the phone call from the breast center, and the nurse said, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you have breast cancer. And I said, I know. And she was like, you know? And I said, yeah, I already know. And I could hear her rustling papers and typing on her keyboard. I'm sure she was wondering who had called me from the office. So finally she said, well, who called you? And well, she said, who told you? And I said, well, God. And it was quiet. And then she said, oh, well, okay, but there's things you need to do. So she went through this long list of all these tests I would have to have. I had to have different scans done. I had to make sure that my heart and kidneys were strong enough to handle chemo if that's what I had to have. And she said, do you want me to write all this down and mail it to you? I said, no, I've got it. I said, I wrote it down. She's like, you did? And I said, yeah, I got it. And she said, well, I lose everybody after the word cancer. I'm like, no, I wrote it all down. I said, it's good. And she was like, oh, okay. And so I went through, well, I guess let me back up a little bit. The oncologist, they called me and scheduled an appointment. So I went in and met with the oncologist. And he told me that I would have to do a very aggressive treatment plan because my cancer was very aggressive and fast growing. It had grown in between my 6-month imaging. And he told me that I had to do a very aggressive treatment plan or I would die in 6 to 9 months. So I put on my boxing gloves and entered the ring for the hardest fight of my life, which was the fight for my life. And then the nurse told me that they didn't get all of the cancer out. I didn't have clear margins. So I had to have it was roughly about a month later from the first surgery, I had a second surgery to take out more tissue to make sure that they got all the cancer. I had 5 months of weekly chemo treatments with 3 different chemo drugs. And the one chemo drug was so powerful and potent that when the nurse administered it, that she and I both had to be covered in a couple layers of protective coverings because if it touched your skin, it could burn your skin. And I remember asking my husband as I'm watching it, it was red, and I'm watching it going through my port. And I asked him if I was doing the right thing. And he said, Tracy, you have to do this. He's like, we need you. And I said, okay. Of course, it was kind of too late by then because they're already pumping it through me. But I said, okay. So, I lost my hair and, all the stuff that cancer patients go through. I had 2 months of daily radiation treatments followed by 5 extra high-powered radiation blasts. And was a very long and brutal treatment. It left damage to my digestive system and my nervous system. It's been 6 years and I still struggle with especially with the damage to my nervous system. I have extended neuropathy, so my hands, feet, arms, and legs are usually either numb or have the pins and needles feeling. I can lose my grip when I'm holding something and I can drop it. And I had to learn to walk without feeling my feet. And so I use my eyes a lot. So if you see me out walking and I'm looking down, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just letting my brain know that my feet are moving. So then, let's see. How Boxes of Hope got started was I had a friend who said that her friend was struggling to get through her breast cancer treatments, and she asked if I could pray for her, and I said of course I would, but I found an overwhelming need to encourage her. So I had a pink box and I filled it with items that I thought would encourage her and items that were helpful to me during my treatments. And she didn't know me, so I included a handwritten letter telling her who I was and that she could get through it. And I told her that she should finish her treatments because her life was worth fighting for, and I had no idea why I wrote that. I thought it was kind of odd, but I put it in the box and I mailed it off to her, not expecting anything to come out of it. I didn't expect to even hear from her. Several months later, she contacted me and she said that she had been struggling with her treatments and that she had decided to give up. She told me that she had decided that she was going to stop her treatments and basically just wait to die. And she said, but that day a pink box showed up in her mail, and she said that she was overwhelmed by the kindness of a stranger, that I would care that much about her. And she said it was exactly what she needed at the exact moment that she needed it. And she said that it was like I had sent her a box of hope. So Boxes of Hope was born that day. I knew that that's what I was to do from now on, was to walk alongside other breast cancer patients, to offer them hope and encouragement, and to let them know that they're not alone. As of today, we have sent 1,208 care packages and 787 mastectomy pillows to women in 48 states, and we've also started going global. We've sent one to Manitoba, Canada. And we are an extremely small organization, and we rely completely on the generosity of others. So if you're willing to partner with us, you can chat with me at any time or visit our website. And I really appreciate everybody coming out. And together we can spread hope one box at a time. And I'm going to have Michael show